Spotted. Max, Rich, and Geoff in a middle-tier podcast chat room. Better than Skype, but not by much. They picked another girly pop show. I'm beginning to think they like them unironically. Max is wondering what the drama program is like at St Jude's. Geoff is already shaving his head to look like Penn Badgley. And Rich thought Chuck Bass was what they do at that Seattle fish market. They're friends now, but will their taste in 2000s teen drama spell the end of this trio? XOXO, Gossip Girl.
Welcome to the TV Pilots License. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Rich Inman and Max Singer. And boys, that was very odious. Very mysterious.
That was Kristen Bell.
We got Kristen Bell. We got.
I think I know who Gossip Girl is, you guys.
Well, I think I might know them too. But gentlemen, this week we are talking about Gossip Girl, and I'm really excited to dive a little bit more into this CW hit of our time, basically. But before
Geoff, I don't want to brag, but I'm holding the latest copy of Rolling Stone here, and we are the number 9th ranked forgotten podcast of the 20s.
Well, I am, of course, joined by Rich Inman and Max Singer. And boys, before we dive into this, let's make sure to let folks know a little bit more about what this podcast is all about. And Max, I'll let you go away with that.
Here at TV Pilots License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn more about how these shows came to be, were originally made, if they're effective pilot episodes and making us want to watch more, if they can be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes from wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard. Rich, you are making me break bad today.
I was about to say that is the closest we've gotten Max to just fully breaking down.
I'm doing my lip sync rendition of Max's intro, and I'm almost off book. I will get there by episode 300.
Oh, is my show intro your lip sync for your life?
Yeah, absolutely. Wait till you see the reveals.
Wait, oh my God, I would die. That would be a highlight moment in my life. But Rich, it is time for your question of the week.
Well, I think we have a bit of a history of doing some girly pop favorites on this show, and we've had Rosie come along for a lot of them. We've had Karama do a couple. I want to know, of the girly pop shows that we've done, that includes like this, let's say Gilmore Girls, Buffy, Scream Queens, Riverdale, etc. What do you, including today's pilot, which is Gossip Girl, what is your favorite so far? What is your favorite pilot? Not the show in general, but what is your favorite pilot so far?
I'll kick us off, and I have to say it's Gilmore Girls, and that is Max recently called a TV show that we watch soup, and you know what, Gilmore Girls is my soup. It makes me feel good and warm in my tummy and comforted, and like I want to wear a cozy sweater, and that's what I want TV, especially TV like that, to be to me. I want to feel like I'm in New England. Say that 5 times fast. And I am just with the girls, enjoying life, having way too much coffee, and maybe talking about going to Yale or Harvard. It depends on how I'm feeling that day. Max.
Yeah, that reminds me, actually, we should do soap since we're talking about soup.
Max, what about yourself?
I'm going to kick it back a little bit older than that. I'm going Dawson's Creek. I think that it captures just the right amount of teen soapiness without getting into that over the top, it's only made for young viewers type of vibe. It's a star-studded cast. The relationships feel fleshed out early on, and it's got just an absolute banger of a 90s rock soundtrack. It was definitely a pilot that made me want to watch more.
Rich, what about you?
Well, I'm honestly shocked Max didn't go with the OC. But God, imagine
that's not for the girls. That's not a girly pop show. That's for everyone. The OC is universal.
But I think personally, I'm going Scream Queens. I think that has been like of any of these have captured my attention the most. It's just like so campy and so goofy. And Ryan Murphy does it again.
Well, Rich, thank you so much for that question of the week. Let's talk a little bit more about Gossip Girl. And we're going to start off with a quick synopsis. Narrated by a mysterious yet vicious blogger, this show follows a set of wealthy teenagers through their day-to-day scandalous lives as Manhattan elites, and also how they betray each other for each other's gains. Well, okay.
It's a long description. I like it.
That's a very, very thorough description. But Max, can you tell us a little bit more about how this show got made?
Today we are talking about the pilot of Gossip Girl, which originally aired on September 19th, 2007 on the CW. And Rich, you brought up the OC. We're talking about my boy Schwartzy today. Josh Schwartz is back. It has been a while since we last discussed Josh Schwartz, well over 100 episodes. In fact, go back deep into the TVPL flight logs to find our coverage of the OC for more on Schwartzy. With the success of the OC, Schwartz begins looking for his next hit to cement his status as the new king of teen TV drama. Schwartz and his production partner Stephanie Savage receive a copy of the book series Gossip Girls from writer Cecily von Ziegesar. I probably butchered that Dutch name. Originally released in 2002, the books became New York Times bestsellers, and when a film adaptation set to star Lindsay Lohan and held by Amy Sherman Palladino fell through, Schwartz and Savage took over. Schwartz began writing the pilot in 2006, and the project ends up at a buzzy new network recently formed looking for its flagship show in the CW. A merger of the WB and UPN, the CW is aiming for a younger audience, and this creative team and property was their ticket in. The show was greenlit the very same week the OC was canceled on Fox,
Holy shit.
One day after NBC picked up another Schwartz pilot called Chuck. It was a busy week for Josh Schwartz. After seeing the pilot, network execs immediately proceeded with the series order. While the show found an audience fairly early, it was the writer's strike beginning in November 2007 that sent it into supernova. Without the luxury of a library of pre-existing series or game shows to air, the CW constantly broadcast reruns of Gossip Girl to fill time slots. Soon, the show would dominate teen culture, magazine covers, fashion, and even the music industry. But first, we have a pilot to talk about.
Well, Max, thank you so much for that. And yeah, when you hear about the shows that Schwartz was involved in, it's insane. Like that cementing your status, I personally think he did. But let's talk a little bit more about this pilot. And
this man knows teens.
This in the right ways.
Hopefully, it's Hollywood, baby. Who knows?
Well, let's talk about this intro, right? And setting the scene in Grand Central Station in New York. And we get our first voiceover done by Kristen Bell, which the story behind that is insane. And I'll save that for the history of the show because it's something worth talking about.
I did not know that.
Let's talk about how we meet many of our
young
important younger characters who are in their 20s, but they're playing teens and all that fun stuff.
You're talking about Peter, Bjorn, and John, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
all three male leads.
Max, I mean, let's just talk about it. What did you think of this intro sequence in setting our world of the elites of Manhattan?
Oh, I felt like I was in an Urban Outfitters the second I heard young folks in that whistle hook. But actually, I like that this show it's teen fantasy. It is so much more disconnected from reality than the OC is in its pilot. And I think that using VO to build out that world helps you like lean into it a little bit more because you know that we're going to have like sort of unreliable narrators. Things are a little more opulent, that the talk of this high school is worthy of a blog that it seems like people in this universe actually latch onto and eat up every word and new post. And I think that playing up how big all of this is, that people want to take cell phone like pictures, that feels like a very early 2007, like the new technology. I think it just plays up how over the top this is going to be in an effective way.
Rich, what about you?
Yeah, I think this is a great start, but you also get just an absolute blast from the past of like pre-iPhone cell phone technology, where Serena gets photographed like this and unknowingly like up in her absolute grill at Grand Central Station, and I just don't understand why they chose to make it that oblivious, or make her that oblivious to being photographed? Did people not worry about being like videotaped or recorded before iPhones?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this sequence, this opening, because and setting it in Grand Central Station for multiple reasons, right? Like it is a place where people gather, people return, people come for the first time to New York or Manhattan in certain situations, and also
if you live very close to it.
Yeah, if you live in the tri-state area,
if you could have driven there,
if you could have driven but you don't want to drive or you don't have your driver's license, then boy, do I have the way to get into New York for you.
Well, Geoff, after seeing this ensemble, I think we need to rename this place Penn Station.
Oh, you Maxwell, you dog. Let's talk a little bit about some of the cast members that we see in this. It's really fun to see people that we are now super familiar with for their full, library and work that they've done. But very quickly, Serena being played by a young Blake Lively. We have Penn Badgley playing Dan Humphrey, and Taylor Momsen playing his sister Jenny. It's great to sort of get this quick introduction and start to see that our main protagonist, at least in this pilot, is going to be following Serena, who mysteriously left town for this episode, but she is back, and boy, is it the talk of the town, according to our mysterious narrator, Gossip Girl.
You mentioned Taylor Momsen, who I think so she's one of two people in this cast who've gone to have musical careers, but hers is more fascinating because she goes from being Cindy Lou Who to Gossip Girl main cast member to being like, fuck it, I play in a hard rock band now and I'm never acting again.
Hell yeah. I mean, if there is a child acting like path to go down that seems a little healthier, I think fuck acting, I'm in a hardcore rock band now. That sounds significantly healthier.
So we aren't only in Grand Central Station, right? We're going to see a variety of different locations across this pilot. They spared no expense for this pilot, which is one of the things that I noticed, and especially for CW, where budgets can sometimes be tight. It was really interesting to see just so many different set pieces that were used, including this very lavish, very well-attended party that we are brought to at the Waldorf estate, and being able to meet Blair, played by Leighton Meester, and also get a side of the society that Serena left, but also a lot of exposition really, really quickly. And I'm curious for you two, what vibes did you get from the party? Because for me, I was like, well, we had an establishing scene. This seems more like the important thing to be paying attention to as far as like understanding what sort of world we're entering.
It's very interesting to see how, because they wanted to portray this as like old money immediately. It's old money New York, by even naming the character Waldorf, like the hotel error and stuff like that. Let's be clear. It's the Waldorf salad. That's how she got famous. That's how her family got all the money. If you invent a salad that's good enough, you can be rich for generations.
No one ever thought to put grapes in a salad before her family.
You put grapes and walnuts with a little bit of a cream-based dressing in there, boy, do you have the money going.
It was illegal. It was illegal at the time.
You wouldn't have thought to put grapes and mayonnaise together, but here you go.
Yeah. Little known fact about Prohibition: not only alcohol, nuts and fruits together with cream, not allowed. No. You had to go to a speakeasy for that.
I do think it's very fascinating to see how they try to trickle down the old money New York to these like legal children. Because ultimately these are not, you want it to kind of be like an aspirational thing, or like just see how the other half lives, kind of a lens into this, but also keeping like the same high school politics. But it's just like, it's so fascinating. I immediately was like, if I had kids, they're never going to public or to private school. That is absolutely insane. I'm like, give it like 3 episodes and like all these kids are going to start experimenting with hard drugs.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I find so interesting about depicting how the other half live, right, or how the 1% live, is you either are doing it in a way that you're trying to make it so you're like, oh, sort of like what White Lotus does, where it's just like everyone is despicable and the worst, or you're going to try to make someone slightly relatable enough that you're like, oh, I like them, and they're a little bit out of place here. And they're definitely trying to do that with the Serena character of like, she's not from around here, but she's from around here, but she's not like everyone else. And
well, I think Serena Vanderwood said they're trying to do the Misha Barton, Marissa Cooper character archetype, but what if we're focusing on her POV versus making her like a secondary character in the pilot? And yeah, it's interesting because everyone's at the same status. There is no other side of the tracks type character in this world. It's just, do you have slightly more of a moral compass than others? But make no mistake, like everyone is on the same playing field in this show. There's no OC class dynamics, and I don't think there's the White Lotus, like it's a satirical look at wealth and power. Like this just kind of puts everyone in this elite, good, weird, aspirational status. And then, you know what? Like a few months later, the economy tanked. So, maybe we were wrong.
Well, Max, a question that I have for you is instantly one of the ways that I realized that this show had some budget behind it was the soundtrack of this show.
Oh boy,
nuts, was absolutely nuts. And you talked about it a little bit in your description of how this show got made, that music was a big part of it. But I'm curious for your perspective, what you thought of this soundtrack for a pilot to have so many hits that were current.
I mean, CW just went all in on this. It's like the New York City budget is insane. The amount of permit money to get the shooting on location, and this show doesn't work if you can't do that. It benefits so much from, we're filming in Grand Central. It benefits from teens being catty on the steps of the Met. I think we get the Cathedral of St. John the Divine just in the background of one shot at some point. And so that's your franchise quarterback right there. You've spent a huge chunk of the budget on New York City. But then you need a weapon for that quarterback to throw to. So you spend the rest of the budget on music. We have height of his powers, Justin Timberlake, Future Sex Love Sounds era on here.
Oh, yeah.
We have Rihanna. We have Timbaland. We have Albert Hammond Jr. from The Strokes. We've got some buzzy stuff like the Moody Suzuki a little bit later on, Amy Winehouse, Peter, Bjorn, and John. And it's like, it's something for everyone. It's the Urban Outfitters, like, bloggy indie rock. There's like Cold War kids, for the MySpace kids on here. There's major pop and hip hop tracks. It is insane. They pulled all this off for a pilot, but I think it speaks to they needed this show to be a hit. Like if Gossip Girl flopped, like the network could flop. They went all in on ensuring that this would be the marquee thing for this new network. Like there was no expense spared.
In comparison to the OC, do you think it was also because a lot of this music is of the time? So it wasn't necessarily like, it was like it was like climbing charts and stuff like that, but it wasn't necessarily like, oh, we 100% need to like clear out a ton of money so we can get the Cold War kids licensing rights or something like that. Like, is it more just the, hey, we're going to ask you to be part of this pilot of this TV show that we think is going to do numbers, and it's going to be like the OC where it's an event that your song was played on it?
I think it's both. I think that, with the OC, some of it was as the show gained popularity, they were able to go to buzzy bands that the young showrunner and young writers room and young crew liked, and they were like, hey, do you want to be a part of this? I think there's some of that of Gossip Girl too. Like, Cold War kids are one of those first big like MySpace era bands, and so getting Hang Me Up to Dry feels like you're a young band that could be a part of this buzzy project from the guy who did the OC, and you're going to level up because of it. But you don't get that with Rihanna. You don't get that with Justin Timberlake. You don't get that with Timbaland. Those are people where you are making an investment as a network and as producers, and you are saying that I need to spend the money to get these particular songs to build the world that I want to make.
Definitely.
Well, rather than going point by point, of the plot of this pilot. I do want to talk about this as an ensemble, the characters that we're meeting, because they do all seemingly represent varying different perspectives of high society in Manhattan. And we've talked a little bit of Serena, of this mysterious character who is returning back to New York for the first time after something happened. And maybe we'll find out in this pilot what happened. But I want to talk about a few of the other characters. And we meet this Blair Waldorf character, who seems to be the queen bee. Already said that, played by Leighton Meester. But I'm curious, it seems almost like in the late 2000s, before the 2010s, we had this, perfect architecture of, you want a queen bee character, this is what it looks like. And I think Leighton Meester does a great job of embodying that person. But I'm curious for the two of you what you thought she brought to this character.
Just first of all, there's so much attention being paid to Katy Perry going to space on Blue Origin, but Leighton Meester was on the Cobra Starship for years, so we pay our respects to our astronaut. She plays this wealthy queen bee archetype to a T, from the way that she could just seemingly post up at a bar and get a martini while being, I don't even know what year they are in high school.
To talk about we have underage drinking.
They are in high school. I don't know what year they are. That is not established. But she is getting that. And I buy into the power dynamic with her. I think that she does a great job of commanding screen time when she's on stage, and I think that she is an engaging character.
Rich,
yeah, definitely. You also get like the quintessential high school queen bee situation where those two friends of hers literally just follow her along the entire time. Like it's like they're like the little leeches that attach to a shark. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
It is every single time. It like really, I think it actually did take me out of it a little bit, because I'm like, at what point is any high school friendship like that? But it's in every single TV show that displays it.
Yeah, and it's interesting that one of the first characters we meet outside of Grand Central is this Blair character, and we start to see how the world that we are being entered into does semi-revolve around her, but with the introduction of Serena, there's a disruption, in the gravitational pull, right? And even with something as close to Blair's boyfriend, Nate, who in this instance is a character that is so specific. Chace Crawford plays such a specific version of an Abercrombie model who can deliver lines, is really easy to look at, but also you can tell does not know how to break up with his girlfriend. And you know what? I'm fully bought into this guy because I've met this guy so many damn times. Max, what's on your mind?
This whole show is an Abercrombie ad come to life.
Max, what about you, bud?
I mean, just really, really quick, Geoff, you highlighted, a new potential queen bee in Blair's orbit. You talk about the power dynamics there. And I think Kristen Bell put it best by asking, can these two hotties work it out? Which, Rich, I thought would be your question of the week if you didn't have such a good one already.
Well, there's 3 hotties on this podcast, so you'd have to be more specific.
Oh, my gosh.
I just got Chace Crawford in this with his just impeccably coiffed middle part and zero backbone whatsoever. It's amazing that he's able to stand up so tall despite having absolutely no spine, whether it be to his father, his friends, anyone at all. How meekly he says that he wants to look at colleges out west and consider UCLA and USC, and his dad's like, nope, you're a Dartmouth man. He's like, okay, I'm a Dartmouth man. All right, sorry, Dad.
All right.
Zero backbone, zero backbone, zero body fat, lots of zeros going on. And all this said, we got to talk about Chuck Bass. And this is something that I had written down in my notes, because it was really interesting watching this with someone who watched this entire series, because they pointed out Serena's the villain of this show, and they were very adamant about Serena being the villain of the show. But when you have Chuck Bass in this pilot, and he not only tries to sexually assault one person, but two people in this pilot, my dear God, there's no one that I'm going to point at and be like villain more than this man.
Pilot alone, Chuck Bass is one of the most reprehensible characters that we have covered on this podcast. He is essentially Finch from American Pie with a Percocet addiction. He is just a terrible, terrible human being. And it's just like every single thing he does is like said with a side eye. It's like his eyes are delivering the lines. It's just smirks and side eyes and this like he's like a Roman emperor being fed grapes like, oh, I was getting bored around here. I'm so glad you showed up. Let me sip my whiskey on the rocks around all of these parents, around mommy and daddy who let me drink the good whiskey. Fuck you, Chuck Bass.
Yeah, he's like he's basically there just to stir shit because he's like one of those people who like one of those characters who's like, I'm bored, let's make people fight kind of a thing. But then he's also a piece of shit himself. And yeah. I'm sorry, just like anyone who dresses who makes himself look like he's the third Gallagher brother needs to die.
I have no discernible features that actually make me different, so I wear scarves and 2 polo shirts with both their collars popped. I'm Chuck Bass. Oh, fuck you.
Also, if they know he's a threat, stop inviting him to stuff. Like, they all know, oh my God, don't be alone with Chuck Bass. Don't invite him places.
The most 2007 thing about Chuck Bass, though, is that when he brags about being able to get Serena a grilled cheese with truffle oil, one of the worst condiments ever invented by mankind, the most bland, overly salty garbage imaginable. In 2007, every single restaurant was bragging about truffle oil and artisanal ketchups, and it's Chuck Bass's fault. Chuck Bass is the reason why we have gastropubs with ampersands in their names.
So I want to give credit to Ed Westwick for playing such a despicable character so well that we all are talking about him with such vitriol. I had that Chuck Bass is Holden Caulfield coded in the sense that I could absolutely see him paying for a prostitute and having no idea what to do with said prostitute.
They're all rich kids with like nothing to do. They're all kind of Holden Caulfield coded.
But one of the things that I think is super interesting about the character, and like Rich, you asked, why do we keep said person around? Right? If we know that they are going to be a problem no matter where they are, and they're going to be a predator, well, we're going to talk about one of the things that I have as a wait a minute moment, but I can't wait, which is, holy shit, the amount of drinking that happens in this pilot. And you're trying to advertise this as a show for a
private school
audience is insane.
This is actually the second week in a row where we've done a show that capitalized on Rich's theme of it must suck to be a rich kid in New York City. But it's not just the drinking, Jeff. It's the type of drinking that they do. Listen, we were all in high school when this show premiered, and I was drinking vodka and orange soda mixed together. I was not drinking whiskey out of crystal tumblers and martinis at bars. I barely like martinis now, and the way that they just casually sipped them without making a face, I don't think I'm a good enough actor to not make a face while sipping that just like dirty martini at a bar in New York. I don't know how any of them do it. This is too nice of drinking. Get one of these kids a Keystone Light, stat.
I want to talk about the Humphrey family in a little bit, but there is a scene in this pilot where you would think that Penn Badgley's character returning a cell phone was a worse crime than everyone who was under the age of 18 drinking martinis the night prior at the bar that was maybe 5 feet away from the hostess's table.
The only crime committed by Penn Badgley this episode are those sideburns.
That is extremely accurate. He does look like a 2005 baseball player.
I was fully prepared for him to walk in with a military jacket with that haircut. Let's talk about the Humphrey family, because we did say that for the most part, all of these people are of the same level of wealth, but they're sort of the outliers in this pilot in the sense that their dad seems to be an artist type who dresses like he is 18 but is probably closer to 40, and
he's got cool dad energy.
He's got the deepest V. I was prepared for a nipple to pop out of that V. But it's one of those things where I think that their characters, this family dynamic, is one that's necessary to be able to give our character Serena a little bit of an escape and a little bit of a new outlet to be a part of, so she doesn't immediately enter back with the elite.
Yeah, big Williamsburg vibes from the Humphrey family, specifically the father of Rufus Humphrey. What a name.
Yeah, the names in this show are fucking batshit. Whose names? Chuck Bass's dad is named Bart. His name is Bart Bass. Come on.
That's a villain. That's a villain in a comic book, right?
No,
there.
you named a character Fart Ass. I'm sorry.
Do you guys want to talk a little bit about the parents in this pilot? Because
Sure.
I think that they're such an interesting part of the dynamic that we're given, in the sense that people might say that Chuck Bass is the biggest villain of this pilot. Some people might even point to Blair Waldorf and say, she's pretty bad. But I would like to point to the parents and say that all of the parents in this pilot are the example of some of the worst parenting in the goddamn world. From everything from pimping out your son so that you can get a business deal, to telling your daughter that she needs to, I think it was something of, that dress is not as flattering as it should be on you, and you should be considering eating something else, to even Serena's mom being like, I'm going to get your brother the most ostentatious way of saying croissant I have ever heard in my life. It's a lot of just examples of, like, these kids are left all out on their own, and the parents are part of this show, and you gotta pick for me. You gotta make either they're villains or they're not. And Max, what are you thinking?
I don't really care about the parents in this. I don't really care about Elder Waldorf, insulting Serena's hair and needing to do something with it. Or not, sorry, Blair's hair. I don't really care about Lily, Serena's mom, and this potential fling that she may have had with Rufus Humphrey back in the day. And they seem to know each other from the 90s rock and roll circus of it all. They definitely went to a Lollapalooza together back when it was a touring festival. I just, other than Rufus Humphrey, for one particular reason that I will get into later, I'm just not that interested in the parents. I almost kind of wish this was like a Peanuts situation where the parents didn't exist.
You just see the backs of their heads. You never see them face on.
Yeah, just like, if you're going to already talk down to the kids, you might as well make it sound like wah, 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 because that's basically what they're saying to them.
Well, there's only like two methodologies for like parenting here, and it's like either complete control, it's like you will not embarrass this family kind of stuff, or you like it is, hey, I'm not going to be a super present parent because I'm like busy trying to make money all the time to pay for this insanely expensive private school. But also, sorry, Peter's walking behind me. He did this like walking down the stairs thing. So stupid. Okay.
That's why you watch it on YouTube, so you can get comedic gags like that.
That's right. If you're not watching TVPL on YouTube, you're only getting half the story. And okay, so the other half is basically they're not getting, like, I know I'm not going to be super present, so we're going to treat this like it's a French family where you can drink in the house and stuff like that, and like, all right, I'll try to be the cool parent and like let you have like almost no adolescence and just push you right into adulthood so you can figure shit out. That seems to be the only two dynamics that are even at play here.
Max, do you want to talk a little bit more about Rufus and Dan's cool ass dad, as you put it in our show notes?
All right, so I couldn't get off of this detail after I realized it. So Rufus plays in a 90s rock band that is implied had some sort of minor success or a radio hit at some point.
Oh, so you tried to figure out who it was.
So they're the number 9th ranked forgotten band of the 90s, according to the September 2007 issue of Rolling Stone magazine. This has to be canon. The band he played in is called Lincoln Hawk, which is a direct reference to the 1987 Sylvester Stallone film Over the Top, where he plays a big rig truck driving arm wrestling champion. So in Over the Top, he plays a truck driver who he's estranged from his son, and he has to go pick up the son from military school when his estranged wife is sick. But the wife dies on the way to bringing the son back, and the son blames the dad, and the father-in-law is like, "You're a bad dad. I'm taking away the kid from you." So he sells his truck, because apparently these are privately owned and not by the company, to bet on himself and enter the World Arm Wrestling Championships in Las Vegas. And then he wins it, and he uses the prize money to win back the love of his son. They start a new life together. Anyway, that is the reference for Rufus Humphrey's 90s alt-rock band, Lincoln Hawk.
Your mom is dead.
Oh, my God.
And that is the least over-the-top thing about the Gossip Girl pilot.
I know we said that we weren't going to go point by point, but I do want to talk about the ending of this pilot, because it does leave us with that "do you want more" feeling, at least in my mind.
Sure.
There's this big party that is being held that children are taking limos to and drinking so much champagne in said limos. And then, you know who's up to his old shenanigans of sexual assault again? Chuck. And this time with Dan's sister.
Hey, can I ask another question of the week?
Yeah.
What the hell is a kiss on the lips party?
I think it's just a theme name. I don't think it's not like a Sadie Hawkins dance or anything.
Right.
That.
No, I'm aware it's a theme name, but like, what is the theme? I didn't see any sort of theme to this party.
Smooching's the theme.
I didn't even see any smooching.
Well, Chuck was trying to keep in theme. And Dan and Serena come to the rescue in this moment. And we get this almost iconic... I'm going to talk about the thing I loved in this pilot. There is a moment where so loudly we hear an extra say, "She's so brave for what she's wearing," when Serena entered the room. And I spit out what I was drinking. It was the funniest ADR line I have ever heard in my life about someone. But we leave where Dan and Serena are going to go on another date together. Somehow Serena wasn't invited to this party, but it's still the talk of the town, and Blair's super pissed about it, and Nate can't get over the fact that him and Serena had sex one time. It's a very interesting...
But they hadn't. That's a big point. He's not a virgin anymore, which is super important when you're in high school.
It's the most important.
It's everything.
It's literally your calling card. So
I can't believe Chuck Bass's undoing was leaving a scarf on the stairs.
That is the early 2000s for you. I mean, as far as an ending to a pilot, what did you guys think? Was this captivating for you? Were you checked out at this point in time? Were you like, ooh, this has some teeth and I want to see a little bit more?
I do like how they started teasing who Gossip Girl might be pretty early on, and I actually got a little insight and from I'm on my brother's bachelor party for people listening at home. One of the guys here also really loved Gossip Girl and has watched it 2 or 3 times all the way through. So spoilers if you are going to listen to the rest of or watch the rest of Gossip Girl. Apparently, they show Penn Badgley's character when they say XOXO Gossip Girl, and Penn Badgley's character is Gossip Girl. That they did not want that to be the case they didn't figure it out in the writers' room at the time, which is seems really stupid to not just pick someone right away, because you could easily just ruin your own clues. Jeff's got something.
I'm going to point back at you and say no, because here's the thing. Did I know that Penn Badgley's character was Gossip Girl before going into this? Yes, I did. Did I know that the writers had trouble figuring out who the fuck Gossip Girl was from the beginning of the show? Yes, I did. But we watched Paradise, and we all praised Paradise for not showing us who the murderer was in the first episode of the show.
Yeah, but the writers knew who it was.
That's true. They
knew who it was going to be. They went in cold. They're writing full episodes where we don't know who Gossip Girl is. Let's just throw everyone under the bus.
I mean, Max, I'm curious from your perspective, how did the end of this pilot hit for you? Or were you just, scrubbing your mind of who is Gossip Girl? Or was that so important to you?
I burst out laughing at the final sequence of Serena, Dan, and oh goodness, Jenny getting into their car to head home, and just the VO line of "Too bad for her, there's school on Monday." I was like, wait, what? Like we have to go to school? Like these these people like can like read and write and do arithmetic. Like I have to watch them learn like how to do like the periodic table. I don't want to see that. I was a little checked out from just how grandiose everything was by this point, though. It is, to me, a little bit of a wearing show because it is so big, and it really rarely feels like things rest, because even characters who we've said like, oh, they're a little more removed, they're a little more grounded, Jenny is still making all of the invitations for this. She's basically been roped into being like the freshman, like indentured servant, like the freshman intern of the upperclassmen girls, having to make invitations because she has nice penmanship. Like everything just falls into this hierarchy and this struggle. And I don't know, like when everyone's part of that same ecosystem and you don't get some of those moral conscious or more grounded characters, it could just be a little tiring by the end.
To that exact point, the Goodyear blimp is flying right in front of my window right now. That is fucking crazy. Sorry.
ADHD brought to you by Rich.
XOXO Goodyear girl.
But okay, let's step into Rich's Gen Z corner really quick. Hey, if you're a teenager and someone's saying, hey, if you write out all of the invitations because you have really nice calligraphy penmanship, you get to have an invitation, do not be friends with that person. That is fucking crazy. That is, it's also, like, all right, we're also getting into the frame that anyone will be used for anyone's benefit at any time. That's not, like, the worst thing you can have in this school is low self-esteem, because they will fucking eat you alive.
100%. Well, gentlemen, that is our pilot, but I want to talk about things that we loved in this pilot, things that you want to give a little bit more shine. And I'm going to actually start off with Dan Humphrey, the character of Dan Humphrey that we see, because Dan Humphrey, or the way that Penn Badgley plays them, is the most realistic depiction of a high school outcast that I've seen in some time, given the framing that we are seeing. The jokes on the bus of, oh, I'm in your same class, seeing him definitely break his hand throwing a punch, hiding from a girl he has a crush on in a department store. These are all moments that caught me, and I was like, okay, that's a little bit charming. And like that reminds me of like people I went to high school, maybe myself. And it's like that's what I want from these shows. I want to see actors playing teenagers like they're teenagers rather than full-fledged adults that happen to have to learn long division.
But you get the beautiful moment of the clearly written into every single Penn Badgley acting contract is that he has to have a backhanded murmur behind the cool kids. At some point, he has to be murmuring to somebody, and he has to be the coolest person in the room. No matter how long that scene is, it is written into every single Penn Badgley contract.
So good at talking under his breath. Max, I'm curious about you.
So I don't know how much of the books are covered in each season. Like I don't know what the like one-to-one is there, but I liked as a narrative storytelling device having the wedding flashback scene of when Serena and Nate hooked up to tell a story from two different sets of people's POV and to consolidate it into one thing. I think that in terms of like making your script more efficient and being able to tell a story from multiple sides, using a flashback to tell it simultaneously for different people is actually a pretty clever choice.
Rich, what about yourself?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the ability to make this script from multiple perspectives, so there is nothing like I think the use of the Gossip Girl narration to have this scene and then immediately throw away all the sincerity of it is like such a great screenwriting element too, where it's like, yeah, we're watching these two people have what appears to be, they're acting out a legitimate like nice moment together. but 3 seconds of Kristen Bell saying, but they're not really, can throw away 10 minutes of acting. I think that's pretty beautiful.
What about wait a minute moments? Things that caused you pause, things that maybe caused you a little bit of
one.
What? Rich, go for it.
Howard fucking Archibald, is your company built on sand that you cannot make a deal happen with someone unless your kid is dating the other company's daughter? What is going on? You should not be a business owner. If you work for Howard Archibald, quit immediately. This company is falling to pieces.
It's the 2008. We're coming up to the 2008 financial crisis, Rich. And what they didn't tell you is, other than subprime mortgages, it was also based off of teen relationships, specifically
if Nathan Blair
Archibald's.
break up, the collateral debt obligations will fall to pieces.
That's what The Big Short is all about. It's about a short king dating a tall girl. And
it's Blair Stearns.
Oh my God. Max, what about you?
It's the Chuck Bass defense line of "It's a party, things happen."
Oh my God.
Jesus. I mean, I don't want to like map this too much to the other Josh Schwartz pilot, but like in the OC, we have this true villain of the world in Luke in the pilot, who is the dick, and he's the villain to our protagonist, or like to the nicer other side kids. And Chuck takes that to such an unprecedented level, to a point where it's like, I don't like watching this person. It's not even villainous but fun, or villainous but goofy in like a teen drama way. I just didn't like him. And I think that ends up being a big issue when he's such a big part of your story, but every time he's on screen, you hate him. And it's not even like villainy. It's actual like reprehensible behavior.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The only way they could have mapped it closer is if Chuck said, "Welcome to sexual assault, bitch," and then proceeded through.
Jesus.
But I mean,
welcome to the High Line, bitch.
Yeah. I had in my notes that we didn't need Chekhov's predator in this episode, because we had Serena, experience Chuck's game, or lack thereof, at the midway through this pilot. And that was sort of the clue to the audience of like, oh, he does this. So then he does it so that we're fully aware of what's about to happen with Jenny. And we didn't need that. We didn't. We could have just had the entire interaction with Jenny go through. And the audience, I think, is smart enough to realize, SpaghettiOs, this is not a good situation for us.
That is a writing term for those listening to the podcast.
SpaghettiOs.
But
we're gonna get Andrew Kimler back on so we can talk about the SpaghettiOs theory.
I do want to say my wait a minute moment is one of the things I love about the CW is how obvious product placement is sometimes when they do things. The LG phone was one of them, but did you guys notice the big old bus ad for Smallville that was that happened in the middle of this pilot, where I was just like, my dear God. And it's called
vertical integration. Learn about it.
Working in advertising, I like stood up and applauded. I was like, damn, that is just brilliant work right there. We do have one more question, gentlemen, and that is an in-flight question. Our in-flight question came in from Instagram, which if you follow us on Instagram, we actually take those throughout the week. But it came from KJohn TV. If you created an anonymous persona to own a group of people who you would like to clown, what would your handle be, and who would those people be? So you get to start being a gossip about a certain group of people, and you have a handle that you're going to go by. And I'll just start. I've recently found out that there are people who just, like to be, dickheads and spread fake gossip about basketball, specifically college basketball. So I'd like to call myself the ball knower. And I'm just going to start leaking fake rumors about NIL and transfer portal people. and more so the coaches and how much money they're willing to pay someone, and just make like fake NIL deals and be like, hey, Pornhub is looking to sponsor a kid who goes to FAU. Like, oh, great, it's a $2.5 million NIL deal. So that'll be a fun time.
Yeah, sponsor him in a state where porn is illegal. I got to go with being a haunted Victorian child that was killed in the school. I think it'd be very fun if everyone was afraid of summoning this like small child, but he knows everything that's happening, or he or she knows everything that's happening in the school.
I would pay so much money to follow that account. Max, what about yourself?
I'm in the walls of all of LA's independent improv theaters. I'm yes and.
Oh, God.
I'm getting all the deets. I'm learning about, who said what and what's going on with whose team and who quit to go join another team and who's not paying their rent at their theaters.
My name is Kevin Durant, and I just have a bunch of burners that I'm praising Kevin Durant on.
Kevin Durant 1, Kevin Durant 2, Kevin Durant 3, Kevin Durant 4.
Kevin Durant, come on the pod. Well, thank you so much for that in-flight question. Let's talk a little bit about the legacy of this show. 6 seasons and 121 episodes on the original series. There was also a standalone sequel series that had 2 seasons that it was on HBO. The series was broadcast, and I think this is a record, in 197 different countries. So the original Gossip Girl was broadcast that many countries. Now,
do you think people have taken trips to the Upper East Side just to see where this is?
So many people are just standing in Grand Central Station, crowding and like causing.
Oh, that's why they're all there?
That's why they're all there. They're like, I am the Gossip Girl. But you can find the show now on Max as well as Netflix. The show started syndication in 2012. Yes, there are DVDs for every single season. There were 5 different adaptions of this show made internationally. Those include Turkey, Mexico, Thailand, China, and Indonesia. Max, you talked a little bit about how this show was critical for the importance of CW becoming a network as it is. It was actually the most successful show that CW saw because they put it directly after America's Next Top Model in keeping that audience. And having the highest retention rate that allowed for its success. While this isn't gigantic viewership numbers, it was able to get 2.48 million people to watch, and it had a 1.4 on Nielsen, which is also A+ for this
Pretty
time.
solid.
If you were listening to The Nanny, just to give you an idea, The Nanny was a 10.1, and we're praising a 1.4 in 2007. Let's talk about awards. 52 nominations and 20 wins. And I am here to ask you both Geoff's question of the week. How many surfboards?
21. Oh. They're all surfboards.
It's all surfboards.
Always has been.
17,
yeah,
17 of them were surfboards. But to give you an idea, this show did have, like any show, a natural decline as far as its viewership and the quality of the show. It won a surfboard every season up until 2012 and 2013. 2012, it had 3 nominations, 1-0. 2013, it only had 1. And then in 2018, it got the Throwback TV Award nomination and also lost that. So, oof. Yeah, you imagine you get the
call. You don't come back from that.
You might get a surfboard because you're old, and then you find out you're old and surfboardless. What a hit to the ego.
That's John from Cincinnati.
We had to get our 1, but that is the history of the show. Rich, it is time for your game of the week.
Your John from Cincinnati slander will not be forgotten. All right, it's time for a little Gossip Girl trivia. Do you have what it takes to go from St Jude's to the Ivy League? All right, so this was the launching point for so many leading men in today's TV and movie landscape. Obviously, Penn Badgley, Armie Hammer, Sebastian Stan, Wallace Shawn. What do they all have in common? What do they all have in common on this show? A, male characters are never shot from behind. B, male characters never wear belts. C, male characters do not have facial hair. D, male characters' feet are never shown.
I'm going to say C, never have facial hair.
I'm gonna talk about those toes. Let's talk
give
about
Geoff
them
those
toes.
piggies.
Let me see
Jeff's
them
not
piggies.
beating the foot guy allegations
forget
anytime
about
soon.
forget about going to the market. Show me them piggies.
No character in Gossip Girl in all 120 episodes wears a belt.
What?
There's no belts, and Sebastian's.
Oh, that's
What?
the arc where Wallace Shaw's pants keep falling down.
Oh
my God.
Okay, all right. Real Gossip Girl heads will get this quickly, but there is one spin-off of Gossip Girl, and in true spin-off fashion, made it a total of 6 episodes. Who is the spin-off about? Serena's mom, Lily, Taylor Momsen's character, Jenny, Sebastian Stan's character, Carter Bazin, or Blair's maid, Dorota.
I'm going C. I'm going to the only Academy Award nominated actor from this ensemble, Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, I was going to say Sebastian Stan as well because he started picking up popularity pretty quickly after this.
Oh, so neither of you guys watched Chasing Dorota, the only Gossip Girl. It was about the maid who was like one of the most popular characters, who became one of the most popular characters on the show.
Why are they chasing her?
Is she on the run?
Yeah, I guess.
We have to cover it next week.
Is this a Catch Me If You Can?
But yeah, those are my Gossip Girl trivia questions.
Well, Rich, thank you so much for those questions and your game of the week. Gentlemen, our flight is coming to a land, but before we go, I have 2 questions for each of you. And one is, based off of this pilot and the pilot alone, would you continue watching more Gossip Girl? And the second is, they rebooted this. The teen drama of socialites and elite seems to be in the air. Do you want something like this back on TV? Riverdale is long gone. CW sort of has some holes open in their scheduling. Maybe it's time for a new elite class to appear of 20-year-olds playing 17-year-olds. But I'm curious. Rich, what are your thoughts?
Personally, I'm not watching episode 2. I know that's a huge shocker for everyone at home. But I think some things would have to go very wrong in my life for me to start finding solace in this type of television. No shade to anybody who loves this show. I love that you love it. And right now, I would say if you're trying to, number one, it would be very expensive to try to reboot Gossip Girl with this cast. You would have to go completely new, in a Fresh Prince era kind of thing. You'd have to change up the cast, and you have to change up clearly this has legs. If it's shown in 190 countries, I didn't even know there was 190 countries. So that island full of penguins, they're watching Gossip Girl over there.
They're getting tariffed and watching Gossip Girl. That's all they do.
But yeah, I mean, personally, the capitalist pessimist in me says, yeah, they'll probably make another one of these.
Max, what about yourself?
This is a pass for me. I'm really sorry, Schwartzy. There's not enough aesthetic details of New York filming locations and Moody Suzuki and Bravery soundtrack songs that could get me to tune into episode 2. I think that personally for me, it's kind of an exhausting watch. And as for whether or not it could be made or should be remade, I don't think so. I think the reason why people clung on to say Riverdale in the TEDs is because it is so fantastical and it's so over the top, and I think that you need that different type of angle or game for it to work and for it to catch on these days. I think for a streamer version to only get 2 seasons before getting axed is kind of an indicator that the audience might just not be there for this type of show in our current landscape. If you're into it, go back and watch it. There's obviously a lot of cultural cachet behind Gossip Girl, but I'm probably not tuning in more.
Yeah. I'll finish us off and say that based off of the pilot and the pilot alone, no. I am not watching more of this. I think Max, you hit on it. Rich, you sort of hit on it, but I'll extend a little bit more about it.
Wow, XOXO Geoff. Okay,
yeah, Jesus.
And I use my full fucking name. It's Geoff Peter Kerbis with my full chest. No, what I'm trying to say is, the TV that we're seeing really be popular with the generation that would watch a Gossip Girl today is TV that shows us a lot of different representation in one show. And it's very, very hard. The reason why White Lotus is so successful is rather than evangelizing the upper class, they say, these people sort of fucking suck. And still, they show the opposite end of the spectrum with the staff and what it is like having to tend and work for these people. That's being said, I think that we are trying to see networks cling on to stuff like this, cling on to how do we find the next it person. The show that I'm seeing a lot of popular, a lot of articles about, a lot of people getting really excited about is they're going to be making Legally Blonde into a series on Prime. And people are really excited about that. But I hope whomever is writing that, right, please listen and don't just show the elite in that show. Show everyone in that show. 90210, they showed everyone in that show. Riverdale, which we are talking about, everyone. The OC, which was a fucking banger made by the same damn person. Lots of different perspectives. People want representation on screen, and that's what makes a successful TV show, is making sure that people feel like they can identify with at least one person in the pilot, not, oh, how do the other half live? That has been demystified by us. But gentlemen, that is our pilot. But before we say XOXO, I want to make sure that folks can find you wherever you are. So, Rich, where should folks be looking for you?
You can find me doing a photorealistic painting of Chuck Bass on my latest punching bag that I just bought. You can also find me on Instagram at Damn That's Rich. You can find original sketch comedy for Max and myself at Dadwagon Comedy on TikTok.
Max?
You can find me watching the 1987 arm wrestling action classic Over the Top and on all things social media at Maxwell Singh.
And you can find me applauding bus advertisements. Yep, I'm just on the street looking at buses and cheering. But if you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at Run Jeff Run. If you're looking for the TV Pilot's License, you can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave reviews, as it really does help our podcast be found by more folks and frequent flyers just like you. And if you like us enough that you're tuning in, share us. Just like tell your parents. Maybe they'll like us and find us relatable and like the cool sons they never had. But if you want to submit an in-flight question, maybe you have a suggestion for our next episode, you can always go to tvpilotslicense.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 213-290-1713. And if you're shy, shoot us a text. We take those as well. Make sure to watch out for sneak previews of some of the stuff that we have coming up. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you soon. Until then, keep your eyes on the skies and your fingers on the dial. XOXO.
Your mom is dead.